Branko Kovac is head of data and AI at Quantox Technology. Today, he will talk about the most important aspects of data strategy. He will also identify some of the reason it fails and offer practical advice what not to do if you want to achieve success. So maybe we can give a warm round of applause for Branko.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. The last question I just asked pretty much motivated me maybe to retitle this one. It should also be like, I don't know, how to start if you don't have money or if you have just a little bit money, because $500,000 looks like a lot. Anyways, it's going to be a really practical perspective on data strategy. Practical purely based on what I did or what I had a chance to see in my professional career. Practical because I really like all of you maybe to take a message or two from this presentation. And of course, the topic will be data strategy, how to start with data if you want. Okay, so this is just about me, very unstructured way. So I started this data science career of mine back in 2014, an engineer, currently head of data at Quantox Technology, as it was said. Really in love with mentoring people and, yeah, part of the Serbian data community. I remember the very first conference. I see this one and I see a huge crowd. Wow, just great. Anyways, let's start. I would like to start with a conversation, if you want, with a random business person and a data pro. We would all like to, we would all like to start this data and analytics practice in our organizations. In many cases, we don't have any idea what to do. We would like to be data-driven. It sounds fun, it sounds fancy, modern, if you want. But we really don't know how. And if you ask a data pro, especially coming from one of those big consultancies, what you are going to hear is, you need a data strategy, right? It's, I don't know, huge thing, right? Does anyone have an idea, like, what is data strategy? Raise a hand or something. No, not many, yeah, some, okay, doesn't matter. I will assume that there's actually more people than, hands. And now you are wondering, like, okay, we don't know what is a data strategy, we would like to start. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Data strategy, I would like to quote this, is a long-term plan that defines technology, processes, people, and rules required to manage an organization's information assets. It outlines the organization's long-term vision for collecting, storing, sharing, and usage of its data. A lot of things. I highlighted some of those that I find to be important. This is, by the way, taken from Amazon, I believe. It's just one of the many definitions of data strategy that exist. But they do all agree that it's a plan, it's a vision. It includes technology, it includes people. At the very end, it includes data, which wasn't highlighted because I really believe that data strategy is not about data. It's about all these other things. But I also think that it's at least a bit more clear now what data strategy is, right? And now I'm just going to, mention a couple of those highlighted terms, maybe to bring it closer to you. What does it mean? Long-term vision, because we all understand that it's not just something that we will start today and complete in a couple of months, or I don't know, maybe a year, right? So it needs to be for quite some future. Then it has to be a plan. If there is no plan, then it's just going to be lots of confusion, chaos, if you want. And then technology, processes, people, rules, of course, data. I'm not going to talk about processes. I'm not going to talk about rules. We'll not be talking about collection, storing, sharing, not even usage, at least not from technical perspective. We are going to really keep things very simple here. And we are going to talk a little bit about technology, or at least how we should be thinking about it. We will be talking about people. Some processes, maybe. We'll see. Okay, so this might sound all complicated, slow, expensive, and yet you still need this. But does it have to be complicated? Does it have to be slow? Does it have to be expensive? Well, I already said this is not going to be about how much money something does cost, because this can cost a lot. If you go to those big guys, they are going to tell you, like, hey, in order to start, you need at least $500,000 or maybe more, and then just to start. And then the question is like, okay, but if I'm going to invest $500,000, then how fast I will see that returning? I don't know. Maybe you will not. So you wasted $500,000. Do you really need it then? Well, yes, you do. Is it going to be complicated? Well, it doesn't have to be. Will it be slow? Doesn't have to be. At the very end, this is not really about you bringing some guys from outside trying to help you start using data, becoming data-driven. Maybe this is for you who, I don't know, are working in different departments within your companies, would like to just move things and do something interesting, So maybe you have like, I don't know, 15,000 to spend, maybe 100, maybe just 10, maybe you don't have a budget. And yet still I believe that something can be done, that you can move things forward, that maybe you can make some impact, make a statement, get a funding after. I don't know. I believe that it's possible. I believe that you can do it even if you don't have $500,000 to spend. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. This one and the next one are going to be about some important aspects. So it's not about money, it's about people, it's about technology, at least from my perspective. Let's talk about people first. Because it is about people, if you ask me. Every single practice will fail because of people. And you can name it. There are like different people, different roles, different positions within the company that will make your practice fail. The first one you can probably imagine is your boss, CEO, manager, call it whatever you want, He doesn't understand the thing that you are saying, and he just says no. And basically it's doomed, right? Doesn't have to be like that, but let's weigh that for a little bit. Then it's only people who can make it happen, right? That might be you. It might be some of your colleagues. Let's call them stakeholders, right? It's a good name. Because right, somebody needs to start it, but as a one-man army, you will not be able to go far. And the point, just as we said with data strategy and implementation of data and analytics in one organization, it's a long-term process, it's a long-term vision. So you will need help of some people. And at the very end, another reason why it may fail, it's because that you are doing it for some people and they, again, not understand what you would like to do for them. You need to make sure that you have colleagues on your side. You need to make sure that what you are building, what you are, I don't know, offering as a service, as a help, is something that your colleagues will find useful. At the very end, it's about that. You can create, I don't know, data warehouses, you can create lakes, you can create analytical databases, dashboards, reports, and I don't know what, doing some predictive analytics, but if you don't have anybody who's using that, again, you just wasted a lot of money. And then technology. Technology because, well, It cannot happen without it. I mean, it can, right? We all remember, I don't know, maybe, well, some of us maybe remember how people did that in, I don't know, let's say 80s, right? You know, you still did have some reports, I don't know, manual calculations on papers and so on and so on. So it is possible to do it like that. But anyways, it's technology that makes it so easy nowadays, right? You need technology. Doesn't matter, or it does matter. We'll see later, right? But it's there. Making mistakes with technology can be okay. I mean, it's going to cost you some money, possibly. It will surely cost you some money, but anyways, you know, we don't have to pretend that everything really goes perfectly all the time, right? So if you make a mistake or two, it's probably perfectly fine. After all, technology is changing, so if you make a mistake, who cares? Maybe the tool you decided to use is, you know, not going to be there in a year or two. There's going to be something which is just better, smarter, whatever, and you can always switch to that one. Yeah, it's going to cost, anyways, not much. Can be expensive, but there are lots of open source solutions that you can rely on. You don't have to go with all those enterprise tools. You don't have to go immediately and say, I need a data platform. Nope. Just think about your department, think about your small business. Maybe it has like 30 people, 50 people, I don't know how many people. Maybe you're struggling with budgets. Maybe you just have so many issues, and yet still you would like to use data. Yeah, you can actually go and, you know, do something cheap and still be successful. So it's not about money. Okay, so really, let's get practical. This is how I see it. No, this is actually how other people see it. I would be lying that it was something that I just invented or whatever. You know, it's just I don't know, probably fifth iteration of somebody's idea. You know, I don't know, stolen by one guy, and then, you know, stolen again by somebody else, and then, you know, over time, well, at least it makes sense to me. It might not have sense to you, and that's also perfectly fine. Yesterday, here is Dushan, we have a discussion, like, could it be done in some different order? And I said, well, I don't know. Obviously, I didn't try, but it is possible. I believe that it can be possible. Anyways, feel free to follow this list of steps. Feel free to follow some other. In general, you know, doesn't matter. By the way, I'm not following how much time I do have or how much time there is still on. If I finish earlier, I believe it's going to be a plus, since, you know, this conference actually started with a little delay. So, define status as absolutely step number one. Set goals, list projects, decide on actions, and most important, act. We are not going to go into this step 5. It's a completely different topic. But let's go through these 4 steps at least, and let's maybe get a better understanding. What is this all about? Step 1, align with business. The most important thing you need to do. You know, again, it could be, I don't know, if you are talking about corporation and you can align with your CEO and you know, understand what is this business all about. Sure, it's going to be perfect, but again, you can just start by aligning within, you know, I don't know, reasons of existence within of your own department if you want. It's still going to do just fine, I believe. Something is missing here, and it's also aligned with your I don't know, tech team, aligned with the company's IT vision. It's a good thing, you know, especially if there is something like, you know, IT or technology strategy. Why? It can help you. It can make your life easier. After all, if you know what is a tech stack that your company is using, right? Maybe something is actually already there. Maybe you will not be. Maybe you will not have to pay for it. So it's a good thing. And then think about what really matters. Because if we are talking about data strategy, we can talk about a lot of different things. I mean, I put here just couple of those that came to my mind when I was creating this presentation. So, storage, skills, security, data quality, governance, metadata, I don't know, infrastructure. You can probably name, I don't know, 5 more, at least. But think about what matters, because you need to make some priorities here. You need to understand how to proceed. And let me just give you an example, right? So if you're let's say B2C company or small business, right? And all the data that you're gathering already maybe or would like to gather, it's data about your customers. Then privacy absolutely needs to be, in the very top of your priorities. On the other hand, I don't know, you might be in, let's say, logistics. Who knows? I don't know, transportation, whatever. In that case, privacy, maybe it's not an issue. You don't have to think about GDPR or any other, how is it called? I don't know. Law, rule, whatever, right? Data quality. It's a topic, and obviously we're all going to agree that having a good data, quality data is important. But at the very end, if you would like to start, maybe you can actually do it without thinking much about data quality. That can come later. But there are some things that you need to think about. Obviously, people, I already mentioned that. Skills also, I find that to be very, very important as well. Yeah, a little bit infrastructure. We already mentioned that because of technology. And the last thing that I would like to mention here is, again, people. Involve people. We were talking about it at the beginning. It's not going to happen if you are the only one. Step 1, what you would like to do. Okay, if it's within department, then just make sure that you understand who your colleagues are and what is their interest in data. If it's something that is across organization, then just start thinking about other people, other departments. Maybe if you're just coming as an external consultant who's going to do something here, then just see the whole organization and try to meet those people. Try to make sure that you know their names, their titles, what is their job, and start with that. The next one. This is random order of things, and probably it could be put in a different one, which would make more sense. But I, again, wanted to give a different perspective here, maybe mine. Somebody coming outside of organization, hired to do some data strategy or start analytics practice within it. And then personally, I would always think of possible, even without going there and meeting anybody, I would be able to understand what a business is and maybe what competition does. Just go there and think what is possible, see where the opportunities lie. And once you are there, you absolutely need to share that. Capture ideas. Right? That's going to come once you start discussing all of it with other people, right? Some of those might be smarter than you, some not, but doesn't matter. You will see people who just maybe like to talk a lot, and then from those conversations, you can figure out that there are some possibilities, new ones that you didn't think of previously, and that's a good thing. Write all that down. Anyways, identify needs, because at the very end we would like to address some needs that people do have. And it can be pretty much anything, right? So I'm spending too much time just creating these reports manually. I don't know, wasting a couple of days of my time during a month just to do that because business is asking me to do it. It's a need, it's a huge need, right? Or, I don't know, we just need to do something faster. It's not about, automating things. It's just about, overall slowness of it. The very last thing, understand value and risk, because you will be hearing about a lot of things. You will be hearing different ideas. You will be hearing, complaints from your colleagues or, people within the company. But it's not that all their needs have the same value and share the same risk, right? Especially if you are limited with money, and we started with that premise, it's important to understand what's going to be the first thing to do, or at least a couple of ones. We'll come to that later, but value and risk, it's always there. Step 3, categorize. Important, hard, whatever. You can put pretty much any label you want. And then once you do that, go back. We were talking about people, you capturing ideas, understanding their needs, aligning yourself with business. Go back to all those people and validate. Validate your new thoughts. Validate, if you are talking about categorization, then validate, maybe you thought that something is absolutely fundamental, crucial for the business. And maybe something is, I don't know, a thing that you can outsource. Who knows? Doesn't matter. But go back and validate all your thoughts and ideas. Some of those will actually just be scratched after, gone, because they don't make any sense. But that's also perfectly fine, because at the very end, you would like to continue with a good list of possible stuff, and something that you can absolutely execute, bring some value to the company. After that, well, yeah, it's all about money. I'm mentioning that for third time or something. But you want to estimate costs, because if you have 30 grand, then it does matter if it's going to cost 5 or 15 or 25. And of course, how much time it will take. Why? Because in many cases, you have limited time to make a statement. If you don't do it in 6 months and you maybe promise that, right, you're not going to have anything to show to your boss, to your manager, to your CEO, and maybe get funding that you actually need, right? So it's important to do good estimate of both costs and time. And this is step 4. Very simple 2x2 matrix. I did put risk and effect. Risk, I think that's obvious, right? Why? But effect, I didn't want to go with value, or I didn't want to go with impact. Although impact would be a solid choice as well. But I said effect because it's not about really only value. It's also about how this is going to affect or impact people. Right. Maybe it's going to have value, but that might not be enough. You would like to understand how people will think about it. As I said, boss, but also person who's going to use it. And then, right, what you want to do is kind of, this doesn't work like it should. So in general, right, you would like to go with something that does have a low risk, high effect, if possible. But even low risk and low effect, I don't know. Anyways, low-hanging fruit is always a good idea here, right? If you can find it. If you cannot, then okay, not a problem. But go with those things, I would say, that do have high effect, right? You can take a risk. After all, there is not much that you will lose. A little bit of time, a little bit of money. We are not investing $500,000 into it, but we would still like to see an effect. We didn't talk about acting, and I promised you that we are not going to go into that one because, well, it's already 25 minutes almost, right? But act. At the very end, the most important thing is to act. This is all easy to, talk about. It's relatively easy to do it. I can put a guarantee there, but you need to act. Instead of 5, a message, especially to those who would like to do something and still they are afraid of doing it or think that they cannot do it, or I don't know, maybe because they are just following rules, maybe because they think they don't have money, and yet still, break some rules, try to do it at least, and I believe that result will follow. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Branko. Let me help you with questions. We don't
Sure.
have much time, but maybe we have time for two. So, okay, we have the first hand at the back. Can you just please wait for the mic? Maybe somebody
You should
can send
wait
it
for
to
a
you.
mic. You are loud, but you should be waiting for a mic.
Just a second, just a second. We'll pass it on. It's funny how the room is getting smaller and smaller.
Room was
by
already
all
small
the
when
people
I
trying
entered
to
it.
get in. Okay, I think we have the mic.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Oh, it works.
Okay, so I guess that at least 20% of people here are vendors selling their services, data services, and stuff like that. The stuff you talked about, is there a large difference if you're working with a customer that already has a strategy, and what if it's a strategy thought up by an idiot?
You're provoking me, right?
No names, no names.
Okay. Well, look, let's just be completely honest. If it's B shit, then let's call it B shit, right? And let's do it properly. I mean, right? There is no other way. So if there is a strategy, and if it's failing, or if it didn't succeed, then it should be thrown away and redone, right? That's in short. I mean, it's more complicated than this, obviously, but right. Let's simplify it.
Thanks.
And thank you for your question. Okay, I think we can squeeze in one more, if there is one.
If there is one, yeah. If there is no, then yeah, let's just talk later, maybe. There's also, by the way, small breakout session, which will pretty much continue discussing these topics and some others. So if you're interested, just let me know and let me give you a ticket for it.
Thank you, and thank you, Branko.